What is Facebook going to stop doing, and what are they going to continue to do when it comes to presidential campaigns?
So the way Facebook has built out its politics work is kind of similar to how it's built out its work for any other business. The more money you spend, the more support you get, the more hands-on people come into your office. And in the case of the Trump campaign, they had people coming in several times a week. Pascal even used the term embeds. You know, these people who were really embedded with the campaign and helped them on their strategy, which was drastically different than the Clinton campaign strategy. Now they're pulling back on that sort of thing, and they want to do is they want to improve their website so that there's a more broad support for anyone who needs it.
Now, I sat down with Brad Parscale a couple of months ago, who is now the 2020 campaign manager. So he has the job Steve Bannon had in 2016. Take a listen to what he told me about how crucial Facebook was in their win.
I've been very specific that I think Facebook's how we won. In a lot of ways. I think President Trump won. I think Facebook is that 0.1% that delivered his message. I think if Facebook wouldn't exist, it would have been a lot tougher.
Anton, do you think without this same level of help this time around, that'll be a huge disadvantage to the Trump campaign and others?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. One, I wanted to note what Sarah said, that what they did in 2016 was they did offer it to both campaigns, and the Trump team obviously took them up on that offer for more work. In terms of going forward, I think what's lost in sometimes the conversation around Facebook and campaigns is Facebook is a piece of that. I think what Brad has mentioned and other folks that have worked on the Trump team is the amount of testing and the volume of creative they've pushed out over time. And so that's a huge factor. And so, yes, Facebook's a platform to deliver that, to deliver donations, to get people to sign up. But the testing and the creative operation they put together is really one of the major things I think that differentiated them from the Clinton campaign.
Look, you worked on elections inside Google. Google, is now being criticized for being left-leaning. You've got the president attacking Google. You've got this video leaking of co-founder Sergey Brin talking about how he felt the election was offensive. I mean, how should these tech companies, regardless of personal political views, be engaging with political candidates?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I did spend time here in Washington, D.C. with Google. I worked around some amazing folks that, regardless of political affiliation, were really trying to push forward a message of more people getting involved in the democratic process. And so whether it's Google, Facebook, Twitter, all these platforms, they're private companies. They have one of their goals amongst many is during the election period is trying to get more people involved in the democratic process. And listen, can communication methods be abused, and especially new communication methods? Yes, but that's been around for as long as people have communicated.
Well, and Sarah, it's also about trying to make sure that these platforms are metal-proof, right? Which Mark Zuckerberg has said it's going to be very, very difficult, but they're certainly going to try. It's been rough. I mean, Facebook internally, after Cambridge Analytica hit in March, was even questioning whether they should have political ads at all. That was like one of the things. Is it more trouble than it's worth? And they decided that we still need to have that, but we need to do it differently. We need to make it more transparent. We need to make it so that we're not in a position where people could think we are biased. That was the problem with the involvement with the Trump campaign, is that everyone was like, how could you give so much help to one campaign and not the other? How does that work? Why do you do that? And Facebook told Congress that it offered identical support to both, but obviously the optics of that are untenable in this era where everyone is questioning biases of these platforms. Anton, how would you advise a political candidate today, in terms of how they should use technology? How should they exploit Facebook to the extent it can be exploited, and Google as well?
Listen, they're all great platforms to connect directly. The president said this many times, that he enjoys connecting directly to the people. I think when you're running for office or your political campaign, being able to take your message directly to the voters and your constituents is extremely important. I think the other thing around 2016 that sometimes gets lost in the conversation on the media side, on the using technology as a political football sometimes, is that the people that were involved on the 2016 side were really focused on advertising and sales. And like Sarah had mentioned, at the end of the day, they're trying to work with them as if they were a business to drive, people have quotas, they have revenue targets and these things. And so a lot of times in the conversations, you end up talking about algorithms or engineers, but in reality, the people that were most involved were really those ad sales teams.
Now, you're already seeing how the midterm campaigns are handling this, but how do you imagine 2020 is going to be different?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, so these platforms, let's take the Trump campaign, for example. Facebook and a lot of the other social platforms were great for direct response, right? You were building your lists, you were finding new donors, getting them to donate more money. If those platforms continue to be great direct response partners and platforms in order to convert people into being supporters, I think people will still continue to use it. What I'm hearing now from folks is, yes, there are more regulations, that it's tougher to become a political advertiser. There are a lot of rules that Facebook has put in place to help push back on any abuse from 2016. But all those things, I think, have turned out to be pretty positive for democracy and probably for Facebook as well.